3, hit it!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. And if you enjoy the things that I talk about on this podcast each week, check out our free basic course at michaelneill.org/basic course. Today's podcast is sort of a tribute, and it's a tribute to a man named Chip Chipman, who was one of the early students of the Scottish mystic Syd Banks, and he died recently. And Chip was somebody who I didn't know well, but I had an incredible amount of respect for, and I wanted to kind of share one of my favorite stories that he used to tell. And you can actually read his version of the story in the book, The Genesis of the Three Principles, which you can probably find online. I'm not sure if it's still in print, but I've seen copies floating around out there. And Chip lived on the same island, Salt Spring Island in Canada, as Syd, and he was a student of Syd's. And he one day he tells the story. He had this amazing insight, and he was very excited, and he wanted to share it with Syd because he really felt like, oh my gosh, I've really seen, something about my true nature and the nature of thought and the nature of consciousness. And so he phoned Syd and couldn't get hold of him. And so he decided, I'm going to drive over. I really want to tell Syd about this. And he got there, and Syd was out mowing his lawn, which is why he probably hadn't answered the phone. And so he was all excited to talk to Syd. And he started to just talk to him over the lawnmower. And Syd just apparently put up his finger like, shh, shh, shh. And went in the house, came back out with his dog, Fergus. And the three of them went for a walk. And Chip was in his head thinking, oh, I guess Syd wants to find a better place for us to have this conversation. And they in fact walked out to this beautiful vista overlooking the ocean. And Chip kept looking to Syd to see, maybe is he ready for me to tell him now? And he said, and then he saw that Syd was just looking out over the water with tears of joy in his eyes. And Chip said he almost couldn't help himself. He started to feel the beauty of the ocean and the island and the sky and the sun. And he started to tear up. And they both just stood there for a while, looking out at the sea. And then at some point, Syd whistled for Fergus and threw a stick back into the woods, and they walked back to Syd's place. And Syd put Fergus in the house, turned the lawnmower back on, and Chip got in his car and drove off. And it wasn't until he drove off that he realized how peaceful he felt and what a beautiful experience that was. Even actually in the book, as I remember it, he said it was his favorite experience he ever had with Syd, and not a word was spoken. And the reason for this particular podcast, the reason I wanted to tell this story here, both as an acknowledgement of Chip and Syd, but as something that really can make a huge difference in your life, particularly if you're somebody who is called to make a difference in the world, to make the world a better place, to change the world for the better. Is Chip, when he was kind of telling that story, the moral of the story, the conclusion, was that Syd lived in a beautiful feeling. He lived at a really high level of consciousness. He lived in the awareness of the quiet inside him, the intelligent energy that he was made of. And if you wanted to join him there, you could. His presence alone was like an invitation. Now, this isn't a story about a guru that you're supposed to follow. This is a story about what's possible for all of us. When we find the beautiful feelings that are inside you right now. When you touch the quiet that's inside you right now, the presence that's inside you right now, the aliveness that's inside you right now, when you touch that space with your attention, with your presence, your very existence becomes an invitation for other people to join you there. It's not a requirement. It's nothing that you particularly have to say or do. It's a transformative presence. It's a way of being in the world that is available to everyone, but experiential for relatively few. And so if you want to change the world without really trying, the best way I know is to go there first, is to find that place in you and to live there as best you can. And your presence itself becomes an invitation so that if other people want to join you there, they can. Have fun, learn heaps, happy exploring, and I'll talk with you soon.